All right, so in this video, we are going to create the front end of our application. So let's recap what we have done so far. We have worked on the back end of our app. We are able to install the app on Lightfunnels. We are able to get the access token from Lightfunnels and save it to our database. We receive notifications of orders that were created and notifications on when the user uninstalls the app from the account. We are also sending the order information to Discord. And we are able to manage the channels through our channels controller. And if you remember, once you install the app and go through the authentication, inside of the auth controller, you can see that we are sending the user to the front end and we are passing the token. We only have this fake front end URL that we were having just to allow us to see the token that was passed. So now we are going to remove this. And we are going to update the front-end URL inside of our env. Now, before we do that, we need to create a front-end project, right? So let's go inside of our front-end, and I'm going to open up terminal here, and I'm going to create a new front-end terminal, and let's cd to front-end. Now, we are going to use Vue.js for this demo, but of course you can use anything that you want. Now we are going to run this command right here. So let's paste it here, and we are going to add a dot in order for the project to be installed in the current directory. Okay, so it's going to be called Discord notifications front end, and everything no. And there we go. npm install. It's going to install the dependencies. Now let's go ahead and run npm run dev, and this will start our Vue.js server. Okay, so let's click here, and this is our Vue.js project. Inside of source app, we are going to clean this up. So we will remove all the CSS from here, and we will remove everything from here. We just say, okay, this is hello world. Now we need to remove everything from the main CSS, and we are going to delete base CSS because we are going to be using Tailwind. All right, so now we have an empty project. If you go back to the URL of the project, you will see that it only says hello world with no styling, no nothing. Now let's go ahead and install Tailwind. Now inside of Tailwind, we are going to go here and we're going to install these dependencies right here. So exit out of there and install these dependencies. And then we're going to npx initialize Tailwind CSS. Okay. Now that we have initialized Tailwind, it has created this Tailwind configuration for us. So this is where we are going to put all of our Tailwind configurations. We need to update the purge property in tailwind.css, and it needs to say everything that is JS or Vue. So this will look for all the text that is written in these files, and it will check if there are some CSS classes that need to stay in the final bundle. So yeah, that's purge, and we need to add these guys to the main CSS, and I think we're good. So let's run this server again and see what's up. All right, so we can see that the font has been changed. Let's go ahead and get some Tailwind UI components. I'm going to speed up the process using Tailwind UI, but if you want, you can use Flowbyte, for example. Flowbyte also have some good front-end components. So yeah, Tailwind UI is not free, but there are some good alternatives out there as well. So we are going to use a table. And the one that I like is this one. So we are going to copy the view here and paste it in here. All right. And let's go back to our page, and you can see that everything works perfectly. The first thing I want to do is just add a container to the page so it's not that wide. And then I'm going to have to give it an MX auto to center it. So in order to remove all the white spaces, I'm going to wrap this inside of a div that has background gray 900. Okay, I'm going to close that here. Now let's see. Okay, we have full width. We're going to give it a height 100, 100 VH. And there we go. Now, once the user comes here, there will be a token in the query string of the request. And that's the token we are going to use to load our channels from the backend. First thing we're going to do here is change the front-end URL in our backend. So we'll go here and change the front-end URL to this. Okay, so, and to avoid any issues, let me just go ahead and forward this port and make it also a publicly available link. Yeah, so let's do it like this. Let's just change this to this. Perfect. And in here, we are going to also need a .env. So let's go to the terminal and we are going to create a new one. It's going to be front-end CLI. Okay, and we're going to create a .env file. And this file is going to hold a backend URL. And the backend URL is going to be the same as this one. Okay, and because we're using Vite, we have to prefix this with Vite backend URL. So the first thing we want to do here is check if there is a token in the query string. What we are going to do here is create a token, and it's going to be null. And once this is mounted, we're going to get the token from query string. So, okay, and token is this, and we're going to console.log the token. Okay, oops, sorry about that. Okay, so we're going to console.log the token as soon as we open this up. Now it should be empty, but if we go ahead and do token equals something, you can see that the token here says something. Okay, perfect. So now we are setting the token here, and now we are ready to load the Discord channels. Okay. So before we do that, let's go ahead and, if token is present, call the backend URL from env/channels using token in author. So if token is present, call the backend URL from env/channels using the token in authorization. All right, so if token, we're going to go to the backend/channels, and the headers are going to hold the token in the authorization, and we are going to set the channels to this. So let's go ahead and do channels equals null. Also, we are going to go to just log channels for now, and let's refresh. Okay, so instead of process.env, this is if we are using the .env library, but in Vue, this is the way we do it. Okay, so we named it Vite backend URL, and we do import.meta.env. Now let's refresh. And now we are facing a course error. A course error is a cross-origin error. This is for security. It's not allowing the localhost to call the backend. So in order to fix this, what we are going to do is go to the backend, and we are going to import require course, allow front-end URL from env to make calls. Okay, so this env right here will be allowed to make calls to the backend using this. So cross-origin resource sharing is going to be allowed in the front end. Now we need to make sure that we are accessing the front end from this URL right here, because we're still using the localhost URL. So now let's go back to our browser, and if we refresh and open up the network, you can see that now we have our channels here. So we are going to update this code to use Axios, because Axios will allow us to save the backend URL as well as the authorization token inside of the instance, to have a much cleaner code than what we have now. So I'm going to tell Copilot to do that. Create a new Axios instance and save the backend URL and token in it, and use await to get the channels. Okay, so let's see what's going on here. Now it's going to import Axios. I'm going to put that up there. It's creating a new Axios instance with the backend URL and the authorization token in it, and it called it API, which is cool. Now, instead of putting it here, we're going to do this .api, and we're going to put an API variable in the data, and we're going to give it null. So we're going to initialize it here, and whenever we want to call the API now, we just do API get channels. Await is not going to work because mount is not async. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to create a method called get channels, and we're going to call it here. So this dot or fetch channels, I like that. Fetch channels, and we're going to move our code there. And we can also move the try and catch inside of fetch channels. Now we're going to create methods, fetch channels, and there we go. Let's keep the try and catch, which is cool. Now we put the channels in our data here, and then we log them. Now let's see if this works. Refresh, go to the console. So channels API is not defined. So here we need to await this.api, refresh, and there we have it. We have our two channels here. All right, so what we need to do now is loop through the channels instead of looping through activity items, okay? So we will just delete the activity items, and we are going to go here and update the for loop. And it's going to be looping through channels, and the key is going to be channel.id. So I'm going to speed up the process here because it's not really related to light funnels. I'm going to create those offline. I'm going to share the code with you in a bit. All right. All right. So I just finished working on the front end of the application. So let me share with you the code. There was a little thing we forgot to do in the back end, and that is when creating the channel, we need to give it a unique ID. So I just imported unique ID version 4, and I added the ID to the channel. Okay, so in the front end, I continued where we left off, and then I added the methods that will add a channel, create a channel, update. So every single method will call one of the controller methods that we worked on in the backend. And then I imported the switch from the headless UI, as well as the channel component that I created under the components folder. And the channel component is basically a model or a pop-up, if you will, that is going to show the channel information and allow the user to add a new channel. Let me show you how this looks like. So I added the Discord logo here, and I added the ability to add a new channel. So another channel, and we can go ahead and create a new channel here, or I can use this one. Webhook, create webhook, and copy the URL. We've pasted it here. Okay, so this is another channel. We can enable it, disable it. Here's the total number of times this channel is notified through this webhook. And you can also edit the channel from here or delete it. So that's pretty much our app. It allows us to send Discord notifications about light funnels orders. And now I can go ahead and log into my light funnels account and access the app from the dashboard here. I can open it. And it's going to go through the authentication inside of the iframe, and it's going to go back to the front end where it will pull the channels. And there we have it. So that's how you create a light funnels app. I hope this course was helpful. I would push this project to a public GitHub repo so you can clone it if you want and use it as a base for your application. And if you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact our amazing support team or to post to our Facebook group. We're always there 24/7, and we'll be happy to help you out. I'll talk to you soon.